I decided to pay a visit to the Japanese garden today, located in the San Fernando Valley just north of Los Angeles, which is artfully landscaped, complete with waterfalls, lakes and streams, abundant greenery, all in a serene and beautiful setting that reminds me of the biblical Garden of Eden story, the legendary paradise described in the book of Genesis, where Adam and Eve lived in peace with animals and tended to the garden. It was said to have been created by God as a dwelling place for Adam and Eve, the first humans, where they lived in a state of innocence and without sin, home to all kinds of animals, which Adam named, suggesting a harmony between humans and nature. The exact location is not specified, but was the source of 4 rivers that flow to the 4 corners of the world. Eden is described as a lush utopia, where every tree is, quote, pleasant to the sight and good for food. 2 notable trees are mentioned, the tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil, which plays a crucial role in the narrative of the fall of man. According to the Bible, after creating Adam, God placed him in the Garden of Eden with instructions not to eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Eve was later created from Adam's rib, and both lived in harmony with nature and each other in Eden. In the book of Genesis, the serpent is often interpreted as a symbol of temptation, influencing Eve to eat from the tree of knowledge, which God had forbidden. In the Bible, when the phrase to know is used, particularly in the Hebrew text, it often refers to the act of sexual intercourse, signifying a deep intimacy and union between 2 people, rather than just intellectual knowledge. For example, in the Bible when it says, quote, Adam knew his wife and she conceived, this is referring to the act of intercourse. It is with this understanding that the forbidden fruit, in certain esoteric interpretations, is symbolic of the orgasm. While the Bible clearly gives the instruction to be fruitful and multiply, there is also an esoteric significance to sexual energy beyond procreation that pertains to spirituality and higher states of consciousness, where its misuse can also lead to a state of sin, misery, and a symbolic death or expulsion from the garden. The misuse of one's vital essence results in a lost ability to commune with the divine and a spiritual slumber.
Sex is the foundation of life. Only sex can create a human being. Through hormones and glands, sex powers our growth and development. The sexual drive is the most powerful influence in our life. Sexual power creates everything about us, not only physically, but psychologically and spiritually. The nature of the sexual power is to create, but what it creates depends upon how we use it. A holy person is the outcome of their use of sexual power. A degenerated person is the result of their use of sexual power. Our sexual power can enlighten and awaken, or it can corrupt and destroy. How we use our sexual power today determines who we are and who we are becoming. This is why so many myths and religions hide a secret about sex. It is time for humanity to know it.
This is the case in mystery school religions, Gnostic orders, and various Kabbalistic sects, which traditionally believe that there's a spiritual, energetic loss experienced following the climax, especially for men. Mirrored in other ancient philosophies, such as Taoism and Hindu Tantric Yoga, ancient techniques appeared in the Zohar during this 13th century, a foundational work of Kabbalistic literature which expands on the story of Genesis, which describes additional instructions provided to Eve by the serpent. According to the Zohar, the act of merely touching the forbidden fruit, even without eating it, would still cause quote, an opening of the eyes, similar to that of the Elohim, the Hebrew word for God, which happens to be plural and can imply gods and goddesses. Opening of the eyes is not meant to be a literal physical change, but rather a spiritual awakening or heightened awareness, which is brought about through certain ancient secrets pertaining to the sacred act of sex. These guarded techniques emerged as part of Jewish mysticism in the 13th century, with the first publishing of the Zohar, which incidentally was right after the Knights Templar were disbanded in 1312 by Pope Clement V under pressure of King Philip IV of France. Accused of sexual deviancy and heresy, the Templars were founded around 1118 and played a key role in the Crusades, having their headquarters on the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. Based in the Al-Aqsa Mosque, the Templars used a cross along with the Seal of Solomon as their symbols, which today appears on the flag of the nation of Israel and is regarded as the Star of David, but whose magical and mystical origins predates modern Judaism.
Today we're going to be giving a little bit of history and insight into the Star of David symbol. It's known in Hebrew as the Magen David, which literally means the shield of David. The truth is that the interlocking symmetrical triangle was a common symbol in the East, in the ancient world. The hexagram also was very common in Shinto belief in Japan and an astrological figure in Persia. The history of the Star of David itself, nobody's really quite sure where it originated or how it became like such a prominent identifiable symbol with Judaism.
Most of us realize this is one of the most widely recognized symbols in all of Jewish culture. And what we want to look at tonight is the origins of such a symbol and where it might come from. Unfortunately, there isn't any real direct reference to the Jewish star or the Magen David in any of our biblical literature or Talmudic literature, even in our Kabbalistic and Midrashic literature. And even the famous Jewish philosopher and academic Gershom Scholem, who passed away in 1982, was a scholar who insisted that the Magen David was not a Jewish symbol at all. And he refused to accept the idea that there was any connection between the Star of David, the Magen David, and Judaism to speak of.
The Seal of Solomon, or six-pointed hexagram, is called Shatkona in Hindu Tantra, representing the union of the masculine and feminine energies, which later emerged in European alchemical societies such as the Rosicrucians and Freemasons, and other Kabbalistic organizations which practice internal alchemy. It is also prominent in Islamic mysticism, as well as Buddhism, particularly in Tibet, especially in Taoist sexual practices, where the practice of energetic cultivation of qi, or life force energy, stretches back into antiquity. Taoism is regarded as the oldest of China's three religious philosophies. Confucianism and Buddhism are the other two. It emerged as a religion in the 1st century AD, but flourished as a philosophy in the 5th century BC, which, incidentally, is right after the fall of Babylon, when many esoteric mysteries of the Aryan Magi were disseminated and started springing up following the end of the Babylonian captivity. such as the Eleusinian mysteries, Hermeticism, and Pythagoreanism. According to the Encyclopedia of Sexuality, Taoism depends on the equilibrium of the two elements, yin and yang, which represent the constant duality of nature, rest and motion, liquid and solid, light and darkness, material and spiritual. The Taoists believe that whoever is able to act according to these principles could become the master of the world. This belief, in turn, has promoted a kind of mysticism reflected in the magical practices of certain shamans who claim to possess the secret of the universe. Taoists also practice an inner alchemy, or sexual science, that produced libraries of sex manuals, the first of which are now lost to history. They seem to have been widely circulated and, at their earliest stages, were concerned with longevity and spiritual immortality of consciousness through sex acts. These handbooks recount the story of the sexual initiation of the legendary Yellow Emperor, a descendant of the fabled sage kings of remote antiquity who founded China's first dynasty in 2000 BC, which Chinese legends describe as being blonde, bearded, with deep-set blue eyes. He had 3 female teachers that initiated him on the importance of preserving one's vital essence and collecting the essence of others. Men were told to have a lot of sex, but not expel their vital essence. That way, their yang, the source of masculine strength, power, and vitality, would remain within their bodies and increase one's store of healthy, vital qi. Taoist practices also encourage men to have a lot of sex because the waters of the yin, or female secretions, help strengthen a declining yang. Sexual union with men would also be beneficial for women, enhancing their yin energies, though women were generally considered to be much stronger than men when it came to retaining their vital energies. So in this way of thinking, men needed women more than women needed men. Taoists are encouraged to have intercourse often, but without ejaculating. The aim is to build up Jing, but retain Yang through not expelling their essence, but at the same time enabling the woman to reach orgasm and give off her Yin essence, which additionally strengthens the man. After the woman reaches climax, he is to relax inside her and absorb her Jing essence.
Could you explain the difference for men between orgasm and ejaculation?
Yes, this is very important because usually we don't experience that. We don't know. So when we get very close, very good, very highly arousal, orgasm, very highly orgasm, and you want more. But there are no more. Okay, so we call a very genital orgasm, very short, and very limited. So the orgasm right here, and it's go to ejaculation. So we experience orgasm, and you want more orgasm, then no more. Okay, so it jump right into the orgasm. So now, when you learn very simple, when you feel very highly arousal, when you feel highly orgasm, you stop for a moment, feel it. Okay. So if you never train it, you go so close and ejaculation finish. Okay. So men, when ejaculation, we said you dump out all your sperm out, and the body need to build up, and the sperm is the essence. So the Chinese they write the sperm means jing, the life essence. And how important is the life essence? Because it builds a whole human. And how important? It's very smart human come out from this sperm and egg. So it's very important. So there's a lot of energy into it. Now, in the moment of ejaculation, if you rest and you can feel that orgasm started to expand. Okay? So, but if you train the prostate gland and you train the buttock contracting, you started to have the idea to control it. And the mind power is the most important part. So the Tao said once, if you one time stop ejaculations, your mind power double increasing. That's how much power you get. If it's 2 times, so in the list that we're talking about, 1 time, what benefit to you? 2 times, 3 times. When you, so the 10th time, you're talking about, they said when you can hold and not ejaculation, make love and not ejaculation, you can talk to God. That's what the priests, they discovered that. So when they have sex with their wife, before that the priest can marry, and they discover when they have sex, God don't want to talk to them. Next day you go to the temple, God don't want to talk to you. So they become a rule. When the priests have sex, they have to stay away from the temple 1 week, because they cannot go into the temple anymore. So later on they say, okay, if I want to talk to God every day, I don't marry better. So they become no marry, because when they don't lose sexual energy, they can talk to God all the time. So that's why ejaculation and orgasm, you have to split them out. And it's not difficult, if only that when you get closer, in the beginning, it's a little bit difficult, because in the olden time, when you get closer, you faster, so fast, ejaculation finish. And you get tired, exhausted, turn over, thank you honey, and you go to sleep, you know. But you lose a lot of energy that way. Now, extended orgasm, because as we talk about orgasm and love is the very important part to make the cell split. That's all. So if the normal very fast orgasm, very fast have sex and ejaculation, you don't spend enough time to build up your orgasm. So we call a genital orgasm. Very short. And you say, oh my God, I want more. It's no more. And every time you go on ejaculation, you have lesser orgasm, because you don't have no more. You drain them all out and you have no more. But when the first time you hold, there's a lot of process you need to know, because when you hold up the ejaculation, you have too much energy back, and you have to crazy. You have to crazy because too much energy. So when I make love, I have so much energy, and I cannot sleep. The only one way I get up and write book. So I write 40 books now. So it gives you a lot of creating power and a lot of energy to do things. That's how so not difficult. When you get closer to ejaculation, you think, hey, I'm going to come. I'm going to ejaculation. You rest, lightly contract the prostate gland and buttock, and you rest. That's it. Now, when you rest, you started to feel that orgasm expanding, but not ejaculation, you see? And when you get control, you go on again. So your orgasm expanding more, but you also get dangerous to close to ejaculation. So the Tao text they call, don't go beyond of the point of no return. That's very important. When you go to the point of no return, your ejaculation, that's it. You start over again next time. So when you practice for a while, you feel the length, the gap between the orgasm and ejaculation is bigger. And the orgasm get higher beyond you have orgasm before. So from here, ejaculation, but now when you lengthen this one out, this orgasm come out. So the Tao separate them to kidney orgasm, liver orgasm, heart orgasm, lung orgasm, brain orgasm. It's really feel the orgasm come up to the brain and it's opening you up. So you have expanding orgasm rather than limited orgasm. So the orgasm before is what? A few seconds. You feel good, and finish. But in this way, your orgasm bigger, wider, and they multiply. So we call a total body orgasm. And later on, you go to what we call by cosmic orgasm. You expand your orgasm to the universe. And that's what the whole universe is, the energy, sexual energy come together, creating the whole universe.
For Taoists, sex was not just about pleasing a man, The woman also had to be stimulated and pleased in order for there to be an energetic exchange and amplification. According to Sunu, a female advisor to the Yellow Emperor, if sex were performed in this manner, the woman would create more jing, the Chinese word for essence, and the man could more easily absorb the jing to increase his own qi, or life force. According to Ruan Fang Fu, a Chinese physician and author, renowned for his extensive research into the relationship between Chinese culture and sexuality, many of the ancient texts were dedicated explanations of how a man could use sex to extend his own life, increase vitality, courage, creativity, and spiritual integrity, but only through the absorption of the woman's vital energies. Some Taoists came to call the act of sex the battle of stealing and strengthening. Fang described this battle as, quote, "The ideal was for a man to defeat the enemy in the sexual battle by keeping himself under complete control so as not to emit semen, while at the same time exciting the woman until she reached orgasm and shed her yin essence, which was then absorbed by the man." Many occultists and secret societies have known that traces of a forbidden esoteric knowledge which has been lost or deliberately hidden from the West can be found in several locations in the East, such as Tibet. It was this ancient wisdom that the Knights Templar allegedly sought and discovered during their time in the Middle East, which made its way into European alchemy, Gnostic sects, mystery schools, and Kabbalistic orders. Madame Blavatsky, founder of the Theosophical Society, once said, quote, "The mysteries of the Jews were identical with those of the pagan Greeks, who took them from the Egyptians, who borrowed them in their turn from the Chaldeans, who got them from the Aryans, the Atlanteans, and so on." The German nationalists of the 1930s, through their expeditions of the Ahnenerbe all over the world, were also interested in acquiring this occult knowledge, which they believed helped build long-lost ancient empires on Earth, which have been destroyed following global cataclysms and are now remembered only as myth. One Russian researcher who tried following in the footsteps of the Ahnenerbe is Professor Ernst Moldyshev. The most famous expedition of the Doctor of Medical Science Ernst Moldyshev to Tibet was organized to follow the steps of the Third Reich occultists. Germans used to believe that within the Himalayas is hidden mighty ancient civilizations' knowledge, sources of energy, weapon, and a perfect human creation technology, which Hitler was so crazy about. He wanted to create a new kind of man, the one who would know how to use spells, great spells of the ancient world, those spells that would allow you, just by whispering a few words, to tear a piece of rock and move it somewhere with your sight only, the ones that would allow you to build temples like Baalbek, unimaginable temples that is impossible to build by using modern technology. For example, such megaliths like megalith of Baalbek, or of Aswan in Egypt, or to build the pyramids. He wanted to get back to the ages of spells, when a man was much more powerful than in the modern world. According to the Tibetan text, the only way to create such a man was via using the matrix of life. According to the Tibetan scriptures, secret knowledge of ancients was written on golden plates. Such plates store enormous amounts of information. According to the legends, under the statue are stored the golden plates, which contain the complete history records of life on Earth. Initiates into various mystery schools and secret societies are allegedly utilizing these ancient, guarded techniques to unlock dormant abilities available to all people, which have, over time, been diminished and atrophied in humanity since the symbolic fall of man, or expulsion from the Garden of Eden. Eden is Hebrew for pleasure or bliss, and while it may have also referred to a physical location, in an esoteric context, It essentially represents a paradise-like state of union with the divine. Every religion in the world originally taught chastity and the importance of preserving the vital energy so it can be utilized for regeneration and spiritual birth. Thus, every religion required the renunciation of the climax, as did many fairy tales, which also symbolically portrayed the spiritual slumber induced by overindulgence of the forbidden fruit. In this way, the sensual energy that provided the minor pleasure of the orgasm is harnessed and transformed, thereafter producing the heightened ecstasies of the soul or consciousness called samadhi. Internal alchemy means the act of amplifying and transmuting the raw carnal energy into refined, creative, or spiritual energy, channeling it for a higher purpose or nourishing and fortifying the soul. Through tantric practices, initiates and adepts are allegedly able to re-enter the state of Eden by touching the forbidden fruit but not eating of it, meaning to partake in the sacred act of love but not overindulging to the point of an energetic short circuit, therefore awakening and activating the higher chakras or energy centers and facilitating mystical states of spiritual bliss and awareness, traditionally represented by a glowing or radiating halo.
Through their union and performed with love and not lust, by conserving that precious energy of creativity, volatility, of Genesis, they give birth to something truly divine, meaning thou shalt not fornicate, meaning do not waste your creative sexual energy. Do not lose that force because you need to give birth and create inside with it, as we're going to elaborate. This is symbolized by water. And if you study the Bible and many mythologies, water is the source of life, not just physically, but also spiritually. It is a symbol of our creative, genesiatic, spiritual, sexual energy. It is what can give the potential of creation into something actual, realized. When we raise the fire of Pentecost, the fire of the Holy Spirit within the spine, within successive octaves, within different internal bodies, we can say, vehicles of the soul, which operate within the different dimensions of the tree of life, that energy helps us to crucify our ego. And this is the Kundalini serpent fire, which Moses raised upon a staff in the wilderness, the bronze serpent, which is the power of the Holy Spirit. And in that way, a person resurrects within fire, that creative energy. When you raise the creative force, if you study the writings of Samal and Vior extensively, in the Perfect Matrimony especially, you find that that fire gives birth to spiritual bodies, spiritual vehicles, which we can operate with when we physically go to sleep and enter the internal worlds. These are vehicles much in the same way that a light bulb is a vehicle for expressing light. We call them solar bodies. So we're going to elaborate a few specifics relating to the resurrection of the astral body for people who are learning to work in the perfect matrimony and who are seeking to create the solar vehicles themselves, in which a married couple combines their sexual force with purity and with love, transforming it and conserving it and raising it within the spine in order to give birth to the soul.
The central point of the ceremony, the climax of our effort, is the definite admission into the order. The point at which a certain center or chakra is opened, a certain potentiality of power given. All that precedes that in the ceremony is of the nature of preparation for that point. All that follows it is in the nature of explanation of what has been done, or of exhortation as to how the power can be best developed and used.
May the force be with you, and do not spill the Vril. My name is Robert Sepehr. I'm an anthropologist. My published work is available on Amazon and through all other major book outlets. If you'd like to support my work, you can do that through Patreon or various links available in the description section. Please subscribe and leave me your thoughts below as I read all the comments. Stay safe, and I hope to see you again soon.